20 வந்துட்டாங்க ப்ரோ சார். நம்ம ஸ்டார்ட் பண்ணுவோம். பை த டைம் ஸ்காலர் என்ன பண்ணி ஏதோ சொல்லிருக்காரா ஃப்ரெண்ட்ஸ்
சொல்லிருக்காங்க. அத ஜாயின் பண்ணிட்டே இருக்காங்க. இப்போ ஒண்ணு ஜாயின் இப்ப பாத்தீங்கன்னா நிறைய
20 வந்துட்டாங்க ப்ரோ சார்.
வந்துட்டாங்க. அத நான் ஒண்ணு அட்மிட் பண்ணிட்டு தான் இருக்கேன். வந்துருவாங்க. One second சார், ரெடி ஆயிடும்
சார்.
ஸ்டார்ட் பண்ணிருக்கீங்களா?
ஓகே
மணிகண்டன் சார் ப்ளீஸ்.
Thank you sir. So good afternoon to one and all gathered here. It's my immense pleasure to welcome the gathering of PhD Voce examination of Mr. S. Purushothaman, part-time PhD scholar of our department, under the guidance of Dr. N. Bright Selvakumar, Principal, Christian College of Physical Education, Nargoville. So in this fine occasion, first of all, I would like to welcome our most respected external examiner, Professor M. Rajkumar sir, Department of Physical Education, Bharatiyar University. On behalf of the Department of Physical Education and my own behalf, we wholeheartedly welcome you, sir.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
I do welcome the research supervisor and the convener of this Voce examination, Dr. N. Bright Selvakumar sir. On behalf of the Department of Physical Education and my own behalf, we wholeheartedly welcome you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
I do welcome the faculty members from the Department of Physical Education, Dr. S. Kumar sir, Dr. Lily Madam, Dr. Rajesh Kumar sir, Dr. Jay Kumar, Dr. Vel Kumar, Dr. Lakshmanan, Dr. Jayachandran and Dr. Kohila, all the faculty members of Department of Physical Education. I do welcome the faculty members from the various department and various affiliated colleges of TNPESU. And also I welcome all the faculty members of professional friends and Mr. Purushothaman colleagues and friends and other faculty members, MPhil PhD scholars, my dear students. Once again, I welcome you all in this fine occasion. Now I hand over the session to Dr. Bright Selvakumar sir for introduction of the examiner as well as the scholar. Please, sir, over to you, sir.
Thank you so much, sir. The most respected and appreciable external examiner of this Voce examination and respected head of the department and the controller in charge of Tamil Nadu Physical Education Sports University, dear faculty members, professors, vice chancellor, registrar of Tamil Nadu Physical Education Sports University, and the dignitaries of various institutions and relatives and friends of the scholar. Very good afternoon, each and every one of you. This is my prime duty to introduce the external examiner. He is a man with young and energetic, with always smiling face, Dr. M. Rajkumar, Professor, Department of Physical Education, Bharatiyar University, Coimbatore. He has started his career in the year of 1999 as a Director of Physical Education in PK Arts and Science College, Thirumangalam. Then he joined in 2001 in Dr. Sivanjanath College of Physical Education, Trichandur. Then he promoted as the assistant professor to 2010 in Bharati College of Physical Education. Then he promoted as an associate professor in 2014 in Department of Physical Education, Bharatiyar University. Then he has been promoted as a professor in 2017, Department of Physical Education, Bharatiyar University, Coimbatore. He is a very good supervisor and guide. He is specialized area of research in sports training, sports technology, yoga, biomechanics, and sports psychology. And he has been taken an additional charge of principal in charge, editor in Bharatiyar National Journal of Physical Education, and many things like coordinator of inter-department tournaments, and guest lecturer, fitness center, and in charge of UGC coaching program, and many things. And he has visited in the nation of Philippines for 3 days for 2019 South Asian Games Scientific Conference. And he has been got awarded by the 3 organizations. In 2017, he got award of highest book publishing award by AIRFA. Then 2018, he got an award of excellent teaching in higher education by DK International Research Foundation. And 2020, he got an award of Young Achiever Award by INSA Award 2020. He has completed 7 PhD scholars and 6 is progress. and he has completed 2 MPhil scholars and MPhil 54 ongoing in scope. He has been published in 52 journals, international 35 and national 17. He has attended many conferences and seminars, like 17 international and 26 national. He has been published 7 books in the national and international level. So he is a very good, eminent personality, and he is a legendary in physical education. So he is doing his duty more than his ability, and he is promoting the physical education and the research in the field of physical education in Tamil Nadu, India. So on behalf of my own behalf of the Department of University and on behalf of the scholar, my wholeheartedly once again I welcome you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
And before
Thank you.
I introduce my scholar, I should welcome and thank Dr. Manikandan. He's a man, he's running here and there, he is doing, he has the 2 responsibility in Department of Physical Education and controller of examination in charge. So he is doing his level best, and he has been releasing the certificates, and he's breaking his head to releasing the results and certificates and the Viva Voce and everything. So my special congratulations to him and my own behalf and the behalf of University Department and behalf of scholar. Once again, I welcome you, sir. And my duty to introduce my scholar. My scholar, Mr. Purushothaman, is a very obedient scholar, very obedient and a very good scholar. He's a very good cricket and kabaddi player. He completed his schooling in St. Andrews, Arakonam. Then he completed his BA in SG Arts College, Tirutani. Then he completed his BPed and MPed, Annamalai University, Chidambaram. Then he completed his MPhil, Sports University, Chennai. He got marriage in the year of 2014. He got 2 babies. God blessed his 2 babies. He is living in Arakonam. He has done his PhD work as a title of Effect of Different Intensities of Aerobic Exercise on Selected Physiological and Cardiac Risk Factors among Diabetic Patients. He is a man, he taken his topic and he has put his full ability to complete his research. So once again, welcome Mr. Purushothaman. All the very best. Do not worry about that. You present your research in a good manner. Do not panic. So on this occasion, I hand over the session to the most respected external examiner, Dr. M. Rajkumar sir. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. A great opportunity for me act as external examiner. So on this occasion, I must pronounce to respected Vice Chancellor as well as my teacher, Sundar sir, Registrar Dr. Kobina sir, and head of the institution as well as control of examiner, Dr. Manikandan. He is a professor as well as my brother. He has an early childhood from Anja College onwards. I know very well Manikandan. So very dedicated person in this field. I got an opportunity act as a external examiner from Manikandan brother period onwards, and then Dr. Tirumala Kumar sir, learned all other faculty members of our Department of Education, those who have come over here and engaged in this Viva examination. So in this occasion, I am also so happy about act as the external examiner for Braid Selvakumar Saroda scholarship. Thank you, sir, giving me an opportunity. Because from 7th Aitana College onwards, I saw him. He is in a very highest position. I know very well because from there itself. Because I am so admire of Saroda pronunciation for English. I know very well because talented, the multiple personality. So I must thank to Dr. Braid Selvakumar sir and I I am straight away. I go for this Viva session. So I call Mr. Purushothaman. Please present your Viva PPT on behalf of our staff members or head of the department as well as research supervisor. Please, Purushothaman.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir. Thanks for your opportunities. Yes. Good morning to all. Respected Vice Chancellor, respected Registrar, Head of the Department, all other faculties and other university faculties. This is Purushothaman. I am doing PhD in physical education under the guidance of Dr. N. Bright Selvakumar, sir. And my topic is the effect of different intensities of aerobic exercise on selected physiological and cardiac risk factor among diabetic patients. Introduction. Physical exercise is important for maintaining physical fitness and can contribute positively to maintaining a healthy weight building and maintaining healthy bone density, muscle strength, and joint mobility, promoting physiological well-being, reducing surgical risk, and strengthening the immune system. Diabetes mellitus. Diabetic mellitus is a chronic metabolic disorder with a strong heredity, basic associated with the high blood sugar and usually with passage of sugar in the urine. Non-insulin dependent diabetic mellitus, NIDM. NIDM is non-insulin dependent form. Diabetes develops slowly and is usually milder and more stable. Aerobic training. In simple term, aerobic training is the ones that focus on pumping oxygenated blood from heart to other working muscles. Training intensity. Intensity, the qualitative component of what an athlete perform in a given time, is also an important component of training. Statement of the problem. The purpose of this research was to find out the effect of different intensities of aerobic exercise on selected physiological and cardiac risk factor among diabetic patients. Objectives of the study. To investigate the effect of different intensities of aerobic exercise, such as low, medium, and high, would have significant influences on selected physiological variables of the diabetic patients. To investigate the effect of different intensities of aerobic exercise would have significant influences on selected cardiac risk factors of the diabetic patients. To investigate the difference between different intensities of aerobic exercise, namely low, medium, and high intensity aerobic training in improving the selected physiological and cardiac risk factors of the diabetic patients. Hypothesis. It was hypothesis that different intensity of aerobic exercise, such as low, medium, and high, would have significant influences on selected physiological variables, resting pulse rate, breathing holding time, mean active blood pressure, and cardiac respiratory endurance of the diabetic patients. A different intensity of aerobic exercise would have significant influences on a selected cardiac risk factor, blood glucose, low density lipoprotein, high density lipoprotein, and hemoglobin level of the diabetic patients. There would be no significant differences in improving the selected physiological and cardiac risk factors of the diabetic patients due to different intensities of aerobic exercise, namely low, medium, and high intensity aerobic training. The significance of the study. This study was significant to the doctors, dietitian, and the diabetic patient to select a suitable aerobic exercise intensity to control selected physiological and cardiac risk factor of diabetic patients. The study was significant to understand the effect of different intensities of aerobic exercise in controlling selected physiological and cardiac risk factor of diabetic patients. The study was significant to determine the importance of selection of the aerobic exercise voluntarily by the subjects since the exercise during was kept constant. The study was significant to determine the importance of rest combined with the selected of different intensities of aerobic exercise voluntarily by the subjects since the rest interval and the exercise during are kept constant. The study was significant is comparing the relative effect of different intensity of aerobic exercise, low, medium, and high on selected physiological and cardiac risk factor of diabetic patients. The findings of the study would be contributing to the existing knowledge in treating diabetic patients. The finding of the study would be helpful to future research in the area. Limitations. The psychological and mental balance of the subject would not be measured in the study. The previous history of the subject was not considered. Regular activities pertaining to the day-to-day routine was taken into account. The researcher was not considering immunity, temperature, and other environmental conditions. The physical fitness level was not evaluated through physical fitness test. Delimitations. The study was conducted only on diabetic mellitus patients. The subjects were taken from the age group of 35 to 45 years. Only 6 NIDM Vargas patients were selected, and they were allotted to 4 groups consisting of 15 patients in each group. Resting pulse rate, breathing whole time, mean arterial blood pressure, and cardiorespiratory endurance were selected as physiological variables of the study. Blood glucose, LDL, HDL, and hemoglobin were selected as a cardiac risk factor of this study. Selection of the subject. 60 male subjects in the age group of 35 to 45 years were selected, and they were assigned into 4 different groups based on their mean random blood sugar level. Those who have blood sugar level of 140 mmHg were considered as type 2 diabetic patients for the purpose of this study. The selected 60 subjects were randomly assigned to experimental group 1, experimental group 2, experimental group 3, and control group consists of 15 subjects in each. Experimental group 1 was treated low intensity aerobic exercise. Experimental group 2 was treated medium intensity aerobic exercise. Experimental group 3 was treated high intensity aerobic exercise for 6 days in week for 12 weeks. Control group didn't undergo any exercise. Selection of variables, dependent variables, physiological variables, resting heart rate, breathing whole time, mean arterial blood pressure, cardiorespiratory endurance. Cardiac risk factors, blood glucose, low intensity lipoprotein, high intensity lipoprotein, hemoglobin. Independent variables, 12 weeks of low intensity aerobic exercise, 12 weeks of medium intensity aerobic exercise, 12 weeks of high intensity aerobic exercise. A training program, aerobic exercise segment. The subject training zone was computed using carbon formula, and it was fixed at 50% HR heart rate maximum to 65% heart rate maximum for low intensity aerobic training, 65% heart rate maximum to 80% heart rate maximum for medium intensity aerobic training, and 80% heart rate maximum to 95% heart rate maximum for high intensity. Aerobic training groups, the training intensity was progressively increased once in 3 weeks. The work ratio of 1:1 between exercise and 1:3 between set was given. Flowchart showing the methodology adopted in the study. Statistical techniques. The data obtained were analyzed the variance of ANOVA and subject analysis of covariance ANOVA. The analysis of variance was used to assess the significance of difference between the pre-test and post-test. Each of the variables due to different intensities of aerobic training group and control group separately. The Hartman F ratio compared with critical F value of significance when the F ratio was found to be significant. Surface post-hoc test was used to find out the parent mean significance difference. Descriptive statistics on resting pulse rate of different intensity of aerobic training and control groups. Low intensity aerobic training had a pre-test mean value of 74.80 and post-test mean value of 72.53. Medium intensity aerobic training had a pre-test mean value of 74.47 and post-test mean value of 69.60. High intensity aerobic training had a pre-test mean value of 74.53 and post-test mean value of 72.13. Control group had a pre-test mean value of 74.73 and post-test mean value of 74.67. Completion of analysis of covariance on resting pulse rate of experimental and control group. Pre-test F value of 0.01 was lesser than the table value of 2.77. Post-test F value of 2.73 was lesser than the table value of 2.77. Adjusted post-test F value of 3.68 was greater than the table value of 2.77 and it was significant. Hence, it was computed with post-hoc test. Multiple comparison between experimental and control groups and service post-hoc analysis on resting pulse rate. Post-hoc tests showed that there was a difference between medium intensity training group and control group, hence mean difference of 4.96 was greater than the CI value of 4.31. Bar diagram shows the mean value of different groups. Descriptive statistics on breath holding time of different intensity of aerobic training and control groups. Low intensity aerobic training had a pre-test mean value of 41.67 and post-test mean value of 50.40. medium intensity aerobic training at a pre-test mean value of 41.13 and post-test mean value of 49.60. High intensity aerobic training at a pre-test mean value of 41.40 and post-test mean value of 50.07. Control group at a pre-test mean value of 42.20 and post-test mean value of 41.00. Computation of analysis of covariance on breath holding time of experimental and control groups. Pre-test F value of 0.07 was lesser than the table value of 2.77. Post-test F value of 7.51 was lesser than the table value of 2.77. Adjusted post-test F value of 106.20 was greater than the table value of 2.77 and it was significant. Hence, it was computed with post-hoc test. Multiple comparison between experimental and control groups and service post-hoc analysis on breath holding time. Post-hoc test showed that there was a difference between low intensity training group and control group, hence mean difference of 9.88 was greater than the CA value of 1.93. Post-hoc test showed that there was a difference between medium intensity training group and control group, hence mean difference of 9.56 was greater than the CA value of 1.93. Post-hoc test showed that there was a difference between high intensity training group and control group, hence mean difference of 9.79 was greater than the CA value of 1.93. Bar diagram shows the mean values of different groups. Descriptive statistics on mean arterial blood pressure of different intensity of aerobic training and control groups. Low intensity aerobic training at a pre-test mean value of 90.07 and post-test mean value of 97.33. Medium intensity aerobic training at a pre-test mean value of 97.33 and post-test mean value of 93.10. High intensity aerobic training at a pre-test mean value of 99.03 and post-test mean value of 95.50. Control group at a pre-test mean value of 98.13 and post-test mean value of 99.83. Computation of analysis of covariance on mean arterial blood pressure and experimental and control group. Pre-test F value of 0.73 was lesser than the table value of 2.77. Post-test F value of 6.38 was greater than the table value of 2.77. Adjusted post-test F value of 6.34 was greater than the table value of 2.77 and it was significant. Hence, it was computed with post-hoc test. Multiple comparison between experimental and control group and service post-hoc analysis on mean arterial blood pressure. Post-hoc test showed that there was a difference between medium intensity training group and control group, hence mean difference of 6.47 was greater than the CA value of 4.51. Post-hoc test showed that there was a difference between high intensity training group and control group, hence mean difference of 4.62 was greater than CA value of 4.51. Bar diagram shows the mean value of different groups. Descriptive statistics on cardiac respiratory endurance of different intensity of aerobic training and control group. Low intensity aerobic training at a pre-test mean value of 49.81 and post-test mean value of 51.78. Medium intensity aerobic training at a pre-test mean value of 48.98 and post-test mean value of 51.91. High intensity aerobic training at a pre-test mean value of 48.39 and post-test mean value of 51.48. Control group at a pre-test mean value of 50.21 and post-test mean value of 50.09. Computing of analysis of covariance on cardiac respiratory endurance of experimental and control group. Pre-test F value of 1.07 was lesser than the table value of 2.77. Post-test F value of 1.40 was lesser than the table value of 2.77. Adjusted post-test F value of 11.21 was greater than the table value of 2.77 and it was significant. Hence, it was computed with post-hoc test. Multiple comparison between experimental and control groups and service post-hoc analysis on cardiac respiratory endurance. Post-hoc test showed that there was a difference between low intensity training group and control group, hence mean difference of 2.00 was greater than the CA value of 1.56. Post-hoc test showed that there was a difference between medium intensity training group and control group, hence mean a difference of 2.76 was greater than the CA value of 1.56. Post-hoc test showed that there was a difference between high intensity training group and control group, hence mean a difference of 2.78 was greater than the CA value of 1.56. Bar diagram shows the mean values of different groups. Descriptive statistics on blood glucose level of different intensities of aerobic training and control group. Low intensity aerobic training at a pretest mean value of 230.87 was post-test mean value of 222.87. Medium intensity aerobic training at a pretest mean value of 227.00 and post-test mean value of 220.33. High intensity aerobic training at a pretest mean value of 225.27 and post-test mean value of 216.47. Control group at a pretest mean 225.47 and post-test mean value of 224.93.
Break, sir. Break, sir. Sir, break சொல்லுங்க சார்.
கேக்குது.
ஒண்ணுல சார் இந்த ஸ்லைட்ஸோட full வேல்யூ எல்லாம் ரீட் அவுட் பண்ண வேண்டாம் சார். ஜஸ்ட் மென்ஷன் பண்ணா போதும்.
புருஷோத்தமன், ஒவ்வொரு ஸ்லைட்லயும் நீங்க வந்து சிக்னிஃபிகன்ட் வேல்யூ மட்டும் சொல்லிட்டு நீங்க போயிட்டே இருங்க. ஃபுல்லா பண்ண வேண்டாம்.
எஸ் சார். Thank you, sir.
Computing analysis of covariance and glucose level of experimental and control group. Pretest FLF 1.53 was lesser than table value of 2.77. Post-test FLF 3.41 was lesser than the table value of 2.77. Adjusted post-test FLF 85.83 was greater than the table value of 2.77 and it was significant. Hence, it was computed with post-hoc test. Multiple comparison between experimental and control group and service post-hoc analysis on blood glucose level. Post-hoc test showed that there was a difference between low intensity training group and control group. Hence, mean difference of 7.04 was greater than the CA value of 1.67. Post-hoc test showed that there was a difference between medium intensity training group and control group. Hence, mean difference of 6.01 was greater than the CA value of 1.61. Post-hoc test showed that there was a difference between high intensity training group and control group. Hence, mean difference of 8.28 was greater than the CA value of 1.61. Bar diagram shows the mean values of different groups. Descriptive statistics on low intensity lipoprotein level of different intensity of aerobic training and control group. Low intensity aerobic training.
வேல்யூ மட்டும் சொல்லிட்டு போங்க. ஹெட்டிங்கும் வேல்யூவும் சொல்லிட்டு போங்க புருஷோத்தமன்.
Yes, sir.
டென்ஷன் ஆகாதப்பா, பொறுமையா செய், அவசரப்படாத, நீ பண்ற மாதிரியே பண்ணு.
புருஷோத்தமன்.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
ரிலாக்ஸா படிங்க. நோ ஹரி அப். கொஞ்சம் ரிலாக்ஸா படிங்க. ஒண்ணும் இல்ல, சரிங்களா? ஓகே, ஜஸ்ட் ரிலாக்ஸ். ரிலாக்ஸா வாசிங்க. ஏன் ரொம்ப ஃபாஸ்டா போற மாதிரி இருக்கு? ரிலாக்ஸா வாசிங்க. ஓகே. ஓகே.
Pretest mean between sum of squares 25.23. Pretest mean 0.07. Table value of 2.77. Post-test FLU 1.37. Lesser than table value of 2.77. Adjusted post-test FLU 5.07. Given table value of 2.7. Hence, it was computed with post-hoc test. Multiple comparison between experimental and control groups and service post-hoc analysis on low density lipoprotein level. Post-hoc test showed that there was a difference between high intensity training group and control group. Hence, the difference of 4.75 was greater than CA value of 3.63. Bar diagram shows the mean values of different groups. Computation of analysis of covariance of high density lipoprotein level of experimental and control group. Pretest F value of 0.14 was lesser than table value of 2.77. Post-test F value of 1.05 was lesser than table value of 2.77. Adjusted post-test F value of 4.02 was greater than the table value of 2.77 and it was significant. Hence, it was computed with post-hoc test. Multiple comparison between experimental and control groups and service post-hoc analysis on high density lipoprotein level. Post-hoc test showed that there was a difference between high intensity training group and control group. Hence, mean difference of 1.82 was greater than the CA value of 1.69. Bar diagram shows the mean values of different groups. Completion of analysis of covariance on hemoglobin level of experimental and control groups. Pre-test F value of 0.31 was lesser than the table value of 2.77. Post-test F value of 2.76 was lesser than the table value of 2.77. Adjusted post-test F value of 0.23.65 was greater than the table value of 2.77. Post-hoc test. Multiple comparison between experimental and control groups and surface post-hoc analysis on hemoglobin level. Post-hoc test showed that there was a difference between low intensity training group and control group. The difference of 0.32 was greater than the CA value of 0.03. Post-hoc test showed that there was a difference between medium intensity training group and control group. Hence, the difference of 0.41 was greater than the CA value of 0.03. Post-hoc test showed that there was a difference between high intensity training group and control group. Hence, mean difference of 0.36 was greater than the CA value of 0.03. Bar diagram shows the mean values of different groups. Discussion on hypothesis. The formative hypothesis number one the difference intensity of aerobic exercise, low, medium, and high would have significant influences on selected physiological variables, resting pulse rate, breathing hold time, mean arterial blood pressure, and cardiac respiratory endurance comparing to control group. The ANOVA results on selected physiological variables provided significant at 0.05 level. The post-hoc analysis of parent adjusted mean comparison on physiological variable resting pulse rate provided that medium intensity aerobic training was significantly better than control group. As for physiological variables, breath holding time, low, medium, and high intensity of aerobic training was significantly better than control group. The results on physiological variables, mean arterial blood pressure provided that high intensity aerobic training was significantly better than control group, and the results of physiological variables, cardiac respiratory endurance provided that low, medium, and high intensity aerobic training was significantly better than control group. Thus, the formulated hypothesis number one was accepted at 0.05 level of significant intensities of aerobic training significantly altered selected physiological variables comparing to control groups. The formulated hypothesis number two started that different intensity of aerobic exercise would have significant influence on selected cardiac expected blood glucose, low density lipoprotein, high density lipoprotein, and hemoglobin comparing to control groups. The ANOVA results on cardiac risk factor provided that 12 weeks difference intensity of aerobic training significantly altered cardiac risk factor, blood glucose, LDL, HDL, and hemoglobin of diabetic patient as apparent FAL was significant 0.05 level. The post-hoc analysis result provided that low, medium, and high intensity aerobic training significantly altered blood glucose comparing to control group. High intensity group significantly altered LDL and HDL compared to control group. Different intensity of aerobic training such as low, medium, and high intensity were significantly altered hemoglobin comparing to control group. And the formulated hypothesis that difference intensity of aerobic training significantly altered selected cardiac risk factor comparing to control group was accepted at 0.05 level. The formulated hypothesis number three started that there would be no significant difference on selected physiological and cardiac risk factor due to difference intensity of aerobic exercise, namely low, medium, and high intensity aerobic groups. The post-hoc analysis result on selected physiological and cardiac risk factor provided that there was no significant differences among treatment groups, namely low, medium, and high intensity of aerobic training on selected physiological variables, resting pulse rate, breathing holding time, mean arterial blood pressure, and cardiac respiratory endurance, and the formulated hypothesis was accepted at 0.05 level. As per cardiac risk factor, the post-hoc analysis result on blood glucose and hemoglobin provided that the high intensity group was significantly better than the other treatment, low, mid, and medium intensity group, and the formulated null hypothesis was rejected at 0.05 level, and it was accepted that high intensity aerobic training was better than other treatment groups. As for LDL and HDL, it was provided that there was no significant difference among different intensities of aerobic training in altering the cardiac risk factor and as such, the formulated null hypothesis is accepted at 0.05 level. Conclusion: physiological parameters. Medium intensity aerobic training was significantly contributed to reduce the response rate of the diabetic patients. However, statistically, no significant alteration found in resting pulse rate of a diabetic patient due to high and low intensity aerobic training. Low, medium, and high intensity of aerobic training significantly enhanced the breath holding time and cardiac respiratory endurance of the diabetic patients. However, Insignificant differences were found among the experimental group in improving the breath holding time and cardiac respiratory endurance of diabetic patients. Medium and high intensity of aerobic time significantly reduced the mean arterial pressure of the diabetic patients. However, statistically, no significant alteration found in mean arterial pressure of a diabetic patient due to low intensity aerobic training. When comparing the experimental group, insignificant differences were found among them. Cardiac risk factor: low, medium, and high intensity of aerobic training significantly reduced with the blood glucose level of the diabetic patients. When comparing the experimental group, high intensity aerobic training was better than medium intensity, whereas insignificant differences were found when comparing low intensity aerobic training with medium and high intensity training. High intensity aerobic training was significantly reduced with the low density lipoprotein glucose level and increased with the high density lipoprotein glucose level of the diabetic patients. However, statistically insignificant alteration found in low and high density lipoprotein glucose level of diabetic patient due to medium and low intensity aerobic training. When comparing the experimental group, insignificant differences were found among them. Low, medium, and high intensity of aerobic training insignificantly reduced the hemoglobin level of diabetic patients. When comparing the experimental group, medium intensity aerobic training was better than high and low intensity aerobic training, whereas high intensity training was significantly better than low intensity aerobic training. Recommendations: it was recommendations to the diabetic patient to follow suitable index of aerobic training in addition to the regular treatment, which would be helpful to altering physiological and cardiac risk factor of the management of diabetics. It was also recommended to physicians to discuss suitable intensities of aerobic training to need a diabetic patient in view of the finding of this study. Effort may be made to popularize the benefits of varied intensities of aerobic training, which are beneficial to the patient to speedily recover from diabetics. Suggestions for further research. This study provided that a varied intensity of aerobic training would significantly improve selected physiological and cardiac risk factors. Based on these findings and the experimental gained through this study, the investigator made the following suggestion for further researches. The study may be undertaken the effect of combined effect of different type of aerobic exercise along with variations in intensities of selected physiological and cardiac risk factors among diabetic patients. Similar experimental treatment may be conducted on selected physiological and cardiac risk factor among patients of hypertension, arteritis, cardiac, etc. The study may be undertaken to the effect of varied intensity of aerobic training and selected physical and physiological variables among different categories of patients. The similar study was larger samples may be undertaken to support the findings of this study. The study with the diabetic patients of a diabetic age group, different age group, would throw more light on the findings of this study. Thank you, everyone.
Very nice presentation, Purushothaman. But
Thank you, sir.
when the train will start, it means express train will start from Chennai. Only the stop is going on the Nagarjuil. Dr. PhD sir college. That's why it's a very speed. Why so tense? That's all, no problem. But presentation is so nice. Okay. So before going to our questions, I think Manian sir. So first we must make it in the audience. Manian. Direct away may ask questions for first or going to audience, then go for
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yes, you can.
Okay. Okay.
After your clarification, the audience can raise the clarification. After that, you conclude the session, sir. After that, vote of thanks.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you. First, before go for a question session, in my point of view, so I must congratulate both of us. That means there's either a guide, that means research supervisor, as well as research scholar, has taken as well as lend the more pain for taking this kind of studies. So I must congratulate both of us. Regarding foreign evaluation as well as Indian evaluation, there are some clarifications, not for suggestions. That questions maybe asked in front of the audience. They got a clarity. That's why we ask the questions. So first, in your studies, you take it effect of different intensities of aerobic exercises on selected physiological and cardiac risk factors among diabetic patients. So in your study, that means very beginning you are giving in a different intensities of aerobic exercises. So my primary as well as basic question, how can you fix the intensity for your study as low, medium and high? Then how can you fix? Because why myself as well as foreign examiner asked these questions, because you can take it as a subject as diabetic patients. That's why that clarity or that clarification we need in front of our audience as well as in society. So please clarify, how can you fix either this type of low intensity, medium intensity and high intensity?
Generally, I'm using Cardinal formula, sir. Intensity is fixed, sir, already fixed. I was given 3 types of aerobic medium, low, medium, and high. This is a fixed one. So I was given different kinds of exercise. Yes, Cardinal formula. I'm using Cardinal formula.
Purushothaman, just to please understand the third. You have to take up the study or subject for diabetic patients.
Yes, sir.
Diabetic patients எடுத்துக்கிட்டீங்க அப்படின்னா நார்மல் பர்சனுக்கு பிக்ஸ் பண்றதுக்கு இன்டென்சிட்டி ஒரு டைப் ஆஃப் இருக்கும் ஏரோபிக்ஸ்ல. அதே மாதிரி இப்ப நம்ம எடுத்துருக்கு வந்து ஒரு பேஷண்ட்ஸ் எடுத்ததுனால அந்த லோ இன்டென்சிட்டி எப்படி பிக்ஸ் பண்ணீங்க, ஹை மீடியம் எப்படி பிக்ஸ் பண்ணீங்க, ஹை இன்ட் பிக்சேஷன் கிடையாது. அது வந்து ஆக்சுவலா நீங்க வந்து பிக்ஸ் பண்றதுங்கிறது ஏன்னா அவங்களுடைய டாலரன்ஸ், அவங்களுடைய எபிலிட்டி என்னன்னு கண்டுபிடிச்சுதான் நம்ம இன்டென்சிட்டியை பிக்ஸ் பண்ணிருப்போம். அது எப்படி கண்டுபிடிச்சு பிக்ஸ் பண்ணீங்கன்னு தான் என்னோட கொஸ்டின். தட்ஸ் ஆல்.
First of all, I got permission in my hospital, sir. First of all, check your medical certificate, sir. Medical certificate, and then I'm choosing this person is low, this kinds of patient is medium, this kinds of patient is high. So I classified 3 types, differentiated in 3 types. And then next of all, I'm giving the exercise. I'm giving different kinds of aerobic exercises and different kinds of repetitions.
No, Purushothaman, try to understand my question actually. Simple question. If, for example, if you go for in weightlifting, for example, weightlifting, one of the resistance training அப்படின்னு போடுறோம்னா அந்த ரெசிஸ்டன்ஸ் ட்ரைனிங்ல அவங்களுடைய மோர் கேப்பபிலிட்டி, தட் மீன்ஸ் 100% பெர்ஃபார்மன்ஸ் என்ன வெயிட் தூக்குறாங்கன்னு நம்ம பார்ப்போம். அதுல இருந்து நம்ம பிக்ஸ் பண்ணக்கூடிய இன்டென்சிட்டியை 60, 70, 80, then we can fix it. We have to, for example, unarm test, we have fixed. அந்த பேசிக் மெத்தட்ல நம்ம டிசைட் பண்ணுவோம். That's questions I ask here. Aerobic, you can fix it is a low intensity, medium intensity, high intensity. இந்த ஏரோபிக் ஆக்டிவிட்டியை எப்படி லோ இன்டென்சிட்டி அப்படிங்கிற கேட்டகரிக்குள்ள எந்த ரேஞ்சில் பிக்ஸ் பண்ணீங்க? தட்ஸ் மை கொஸ்டின். ஆக்சுவலி இன் யுவர் ஸ்டடீஸ் ஆல்சோ தேர் இஸ் தட்.
Yes, very simple. Percentage of intensity சார் கேக்குறாங்கன்னா இப்ப நார்மல் பீப்புளுக்கும் டயபெட்டிக் பீப்புளுக்கும் ஒரே மாதிரி நம்ம பண்ண முடியாது. டயபெட்டிக் பீப்புளுக்கு நீங்க பண்ணியிருந்தால் டயபெட்டிக் பீப்புள் லோ இன்டென்சிட்டினா எத்தனை பெர்சன்டேஜ் ஆஃப் உங்க இன்டென்சிட்டி, மீடியத்துக்கு எவ்வளவு, ஹைக்கு எவ்வளவு, அதான் சார் கேக்குறாங்க. ஓகே, எக்ஸ்பிளைன்.
Yes, sir. First one, heart rate check pannu sir. First of all, I am checked by all patients, checked the heart rate, and then classified this kinds of patients low, this kinds of patients medium, another type is high density sugar patients.
So simple
method.
Simple. You can start fixing the intensity, heart rate.
Yes, sir.
Okay, that's why. நீங்க குழப்பறீங்க, ஸ்டடீஸ் வேற மாதிரி போயிட்டீங்க. ஓகேங்களா?
ஹாஸ்பிட்டல்ல மெடிக்கல் பிராக்டிஷனர் அவருக்கு செக் பண்ணி கொடுத்த ரிப்போர்ட் அதை வச்சு நாங்க 3 types ஆஃப் கிளாசிஃபை பண்ணியாச்சு.
ஓகே ஓகே ஓகே.
Purushothaman, wait for hearing the question, understand the question and answer it. Sir சொல்றத கேளுங்க, பொறுமையா கேட்டுட்டு புரியலன்னு இன்னொருக்க கூட கேட்டுட்டு you have to answer, you have to explain, this is your duty, right?
ஓகேங்களா? ஏன்னா புருஷோத்தமன் நீங்க சொன்னதுலயே ஒரு சின்ன நீங்க டக்குன்னு கொண்டு போயிட்டீங்க. பேஷன்ஸை நான் 3 கேட்டகரியா பிரிச்சுட்டேன் அப்படி சொல்லி. பேஷன்ஸை நம்ம 3 கேட்டகரியா பிரிக்கல. என்ன பண்ணிருக்கோம், டிபெண்டிங் அப்பான் யுவர் ஹார்ட் ரேட் வச்சு என்ன பண்றீங்க, நீங்க 3 கேட்டகரியா லோ மீடியம் அந்த எக்ஸசைஸ் பொறுத்து நம்ம இன்டென்சிட்டி ஃபிக்ஸ் பண்ணிட்டு these are 3 groups நம்ம ஃபிக்ஸ் பண்ணிட்டோம். ஓகே. So next questions, it's a common question. டயபெட்டிக் பேஷண்ட்ஸ் எடுத்திருக்கீங்க கரெக்ட்டுங்களா? நம்மளுக்கு ஸ்டடீஸ்க்கு டயபெட்டிக் எந்த டைப் ஆஃப் டயபெட்டிக் பேஷண்ட்ஸ் எடுத்திருக்கீங்க?
டைப் 1 டைப் 2 அத சார் கேக்குறாங்க.
That's all, simple.
Type 2 sir. Type 2 diabetic patient.
ஓகே. அவங்களுடைய கேரக்டர் என்ன நீங்க பார்த்திருக்கீங்க ஸ்டடீஸ்ல? அவங்க சப்ஜெக்ட்ஸ் எப்படி இருப்பாங்க, அவங்களுடைய உடல்நிலைகள் எப்படி இருக்குங்கிறத கொஞ்சம் சொன்னீங்கன்னா நல்லா இருக்கும். That's all.
Generally lean sir. Generally lean இருப்பாங்க, கொஞ்சம் டயர்டா இருப்பாங்க. அதிகமா இன்ட்ரெஸ்ட் எதுலயும் கான்சன்ட்ரேஷன் பண்ணாம இருப்பாங்க. அதிகமா நாட்டம் இருக்காது, அவங்க இன்ட்ரெஸ்ட் அதிகமா இருக்காது, ரொம்ப காமா இருக்கிறாங்க. I'm choosing 35 to 45 sir ஏஜ் கேட்டகரி.
இல்ல ஆக்சுவலா வந்து டயபெட்டிக் 2ன்னு வர்றப்ப they have an physical strength கொஞ்சம் கம்மியா இருப்பாங்க ஃபர்ஸ்ட் பாயிண்ட். ஓகேங்களா? தென் ஏரோபிக், தட் மீன்ஸ் நம்மளுக்கு இருக்கக்கூடிய அந்த நார்மல் பிரீத்திங் பீரியட் கூட அவங்க கொஞ்சம் என்ன பண்ணுவாங்க இருக்கும். ஸோ அப்படி இருக்கிறப்ப நீங்க இந்த ஏரோபிக் எக்ஸசைஸ் சூஸ் பண்ணிருக்கீங்க. அப்ப அவங்களுடைய ஆட்டிடியூடு, அவங்களுடைய பிஹேவியரு டியூரிங் த ட்ரைனிங் இட்செல்ஃப் அவங்க எப்படி இருந்தாங்க, அவங்களுடைய ரெஸ்பான்ஸ் எப்படி இருந்துச்சு?
நல்ல ரெஸ்பான்ஸ் இருந்தது. மோஸ்ட்லி வந்து என்னோட நேட்டிவ் பிளேஸ், ஸோ மோஸ்ட் ஆஃப் த பர்சன் மை native, so I'm easily doing this job sir. Everyone is giving good response sir. Most of the person in my native village, so everyone giving good response for me sir.
அது ஆக்சுவலா இந்த ஸ்டடீஸ் எங்க கண்டக்ட் பண்ணீங்க?
இல்லன்னா ஓபன் ஏர்லயா இல்லன்னா ட்ரைனிங் சென்டர்லயா? சார் கேக்குற கேள்வி கவனமா கேட்கணும். எங்க பண்ணீங்க?
ஓபன் பண்ணா சார்.
இதுல ஒரு ஓடிபி புருஷோத்தமன். ஓகே, மை பாயிண்ட் ஆஃப் வியூ ஓகே. சரிங்களா? இந்த அடுத்த விஷயம் என்ன அப்படின்னா, நீங்க ஒரு நார்மலா ஒரு இன்டர் காலேஜ் ஸ்டூடெண்ட்ஸோ இல்ல ஒரு ஸ்கூல் ஸ்டூடெண்ட்ஸோ நம்ம எடுத்திருந்தா நம்மளுடைய வே ஆஃப் ட்ரீட்மெண்ட் வேற மாதிரி இருந்திருக்கும். தட் மீன்ஸ் டூரிங் த ஸ்டடீஸ்ல. என்னோட கொஸ்டினும் ஃபாரினோட கொஸ்டின் என்னன்னா, you are taking in a different area, different people, that means diabetic patients. So அவங்களுடைய during the training time அவங்கள எப்படி கண்ட்ரோல் பண்ணீங்க? இல்ல அதுக்கு உங்க சைடுல either doctors or any other nurses or இந்த மாதிரி ஏதாவது உங்களுக்கு ஹெல்ப்பா இருந்தாங்களா என்னங்கிறது கொஞ்சம்.
Yes sir, sure sir. கண்டிப்பா சார், எங்க லோக்கல் ஹாஸ்பிட்டல் டாக்டர்ஸ் சப்போர்ட் பண்ணாங்க. பிளஸ் நர்ஸ், எவ்ரிடே நர்ஸ் வருவாங்க சார். குவாலிஃபைட் நர்ஸ், கவர்மெண்ட் நர்ஸ் வந்து டெய்லி நான் ட்ரைனிங் தரும்போது கூட வாட்ச் பண்ணுவாங்க, செக் பண்ணுவாங்க, எனி இன்ஜுரிஸ் எதுவும் வராம பார்த்துப்பாங்க. பிளஸ் அவங்க ரொம்ப சப்போர்ட்டா இருந்தாங்க சார். நர்ஸ் எவ்ரிடே வருவாங்க சார். ஈவினிங் 5 to 6 நான் இந்த எக்ஸசைஸ் கண்டக்ட் பண்ணும்போது அவங்க வருவாங்க சார். அவங்க லோக்கல்னால நல்ல ரெஸ்பான்ஸ் கிடைச்சது சார்.
ஃபுல் சப்போர்ட். நான் கேட்கறது அவங்களோட சப்போர்ட் இருக்கலாம், பட் வாட் அபவுட் த பேஷண்ட்ஸோட கண்ட்ரோலிங் நீ எப்படி பண்ணீங்க? தட்ஸ் ஆல். ஏன்னா அவங்க ஏதாவது ஒரு சில பேர் பாத்தீங்கன்னா ஒரு ரெண்டு பீசஸ்ல எனக்கே வந்த பீஸ் ஆக்சுவலா ஃபாரினர் இருந்து ஒரு ரிப்போர்ட் வந்துருந்துச்சு. என்ன அப்படின்னா அவங்க கேட்கறாங்க, டூரிங் த ஸ்டடி இட்செல்ஃப் ஏதாவது ஆப்சென்டிஸ் இருந்துச்சா? முடியல, ஏதாவது ஆப்சென்டிஸ் முடியல,
எல்லாரும் கரெக்ட்டா எல்லா நாளும் வந்தாங்களா? இல்லனா ஆப்சென்டிஸ் இருந்ததா? நீங்க
அதெல்லாம் இருந்துச்சா?
யார் கூட வச்சு செஞ்சீங்க?
அப்படி இருந்துச்சுன்னா அதனுடைய காரணங்கள் என்ன? ஏன்னா அதுதான் நம்மளுடைய ஸ்டடியுடைய வேல்யூ டு த சொசைட்டி. நம்ம கொடுத்த ஒர்க் அவுட் வந்து சில இடங்கள்ல என்ன ஆகும், எல்லாருக்கும் அப்ளிகபிள் ஆகாது, எல்லாருக்கும் அப்ளிகபிள் ஆகாது. சில இடங்கள்ல அவங்க தே ஹாவ் ஃபீல் டிஃபிகல்டிஸ். ஸோ அப்படி ஏதாவது ஒரு சுச்சுவேஷன் நீங்க ஃபேஸ் பண்ணியிருந்தீங்கன்னா அதை என்ன டிஃபிகல்ட்டி சொல்லியிருந்தாங்க, இதனாலதான் சார் அப்படிங்கிற மாதிரி ஏதாவது இருந்தா, ஏன்னா நீங்க சொல்ற பதிலாம் சும்மா அப்படியே ஓகே, பட் இது ஒரு சொசைட்டிக்கு சொல்லக்கூடிய ஒரு நல்ல ஒரு விஷயம். அதனாலதான் உங்களுக்கு நான் திருப்பி கேட்கிறேன்.
நல்ல ரெஸ்பான்ஸ், நல்ல சப்போர்ட் இருந்தது சார். எல்லாருமே வந்து நம்ம சுகர் லெவல கண்ட்ரோல் பண்ணணும், கரெக்டா வச்சுக்கணும், பாடி மெயின்டைன் பண்ணணும், நிறைய பேர் இன்ட்ரெஸ்டா இருந்தாங்க சார். பிளஸ் மெடிக்கல் பிராக்டிஷனரும் அவங்களுக்கு ஐடியாஸ் ஆலோசனை கொடுத்தாங்க. ஸோ நான் ஈஸியா இது பண்ணேன் சார். மோஸ்ட் ஆஃப் த பீப்புள்ஸ் எல்லாமே வந்து பார்ட்டிசிபேட் பண்ணாங்க சார். ஈவினிங் பீரியட்னால எல்லாமே வந்து கேதர் பண்ணுவாங்க சார். ஒரு பிளேஸ்ல லோக்கல் பிளேஸ், அது லோக்கல் ஹாஸ்பிட்டல் பக்கத்துலேயே அந்த கிரவுண்ட் இருந்ததுனால மோஸ்ட் ஆஃப் த பேஷண்ட்ஸ் வருவாங்க சார். எல்லாருக்குமே அவங்களோட சுகர் எல்லாம் கண்ட்ரோல் வச்சுக்கிட்டோம்னு ரொம்ப ஆசையா இருந்தாங்க சார். ஸோ அதனால எனக்கு வந்து பெரிய டிஃபிகல்டிஸா தெரியல சார்.
யாருக்காவது சுகர் டவுன் ஆயிருந்ததா? நீங்க எக்ஸசைஸ் கொடுக்கும்போது யாருக்காவது சுகர் டவுன் ஆகி கிடினஸ் வந்திருந்ததா யாருக்காவது?
இல்லைங்க சார், அந்த மாதிரி இல்லை. ஒரு பேஷண்ட் மட்டும் கொஞ்சம் ஒரு மாதிரி டயர்டா இருந்தாங்க. ஸோ அவங்களுக்கு மட்டும் கொஞ்சம் ரிலாக்ஸா கொடுத்தாலும் சார். எல்லாம் ஏஜுக்கு சின்ன 35 to 45 வயசுனால அந்த அளவுக்கு பெரிய டிஃபிகல்டிஸ் இல்லை சார்.
Purushothaman, this question coming from foreign evaluator. So one question, ஏன்னா இந்த இதுல பாத்தீங்க அப்படின்னா, ஸோ டயபெட்டிக் பேஷண்ட்ஸ்க்கு எடுத்திருக்கனால அதுலயும் பர்டிகுலரா நம்ம எடுத்திருக்க வேரியபிள்ஸ் எல்லாமே பாத்தீங்கன்னா இட்ஸ் மோர் ஆர் லெஸ் ரிலேட்டட் வித் டோட்டல் சைன் சம்பந்தப்பட்டது. எல்லா வேரியபிள் மேக்சிமம் பிசியாலஜிக்கல் வேரியபிள் கொடுத்தாலுமே கார்டியாக் ரிஸ்க் ஃபேக்டர்ஸ், கார்டியாக் ரிஸ்க் ஃபேக்டர் வர்றப்ப இப்ப இந்த பிசியாலஜிக்கல் வேரியபிளா இருக்கலாம், இல்ல கார்டியாக் ரிஸ்க் ஃபேக்டர்ஸ் இருக்கலாம். இதை மெஷர் பண்றதுக்கோ இல்ல இத இந்த டெஸ்டிங் பண்றப்ப வாட் ஆர் த கைட்லைன்ஸ் ஆர் வாட் ஆர் த ஹெல்ப் ஆர் ஹவ் கேன் யூ கண்டக்ட் திஸ் டைப் ஆஃப் டெஸ்டிங் ப்ரொசீஜர்ஸ்? தட்ஸ் வை ஐ ஆஸ்க்.
I'm using testing procedure. Lab technician also is there with me, sir. Yes, all equipments in lab. I'm conducted all lab activities, Murugan medicals, Murugan laboratories. So lab technician using this difficulties, sir.
நீங்க அதனாலதான் அவர் கேட்டது, ஃபாரினர்ஸ் கேட்ட கொஸ்டினே அதான். ஏன்னா நம்ம பிசிகலைசேஷன் ஃபீல்டு, பட் எடுத்திருக்க வேரியபிள்ஸ் எல்லாமே இட்ஸ் ரிலேட்டட் வித் ஃபுல் அண்ட் ஃபுல் சயின்ஸ் ஃபேக்டர்னால இதுல நீங்க ஏதாவது வேற ஒருவேளை பிசிஷியன்ஸோ ஆர் டாக்டர்ஸ் ஏதாவது இந்த மாதிரி இப்படி இருக்கலாம், எல்டிஎல் இந்த வேரியபிள் இருக்கலாம் அப்படிங்கிறத த்ரூ கைடு மூலமாவோ இல்ல வேற ஏதாவது சப்போஸ் உங்களுக்கு கிடைச்சா அப்படிங்கிறதா என்னோட கொஸ்டின். ஏன்னா இப்போ ஒரு பிசிக்கல் வேரியபிள்ஸ் அப்படின்னா நம்ம பார்த்து மெஷர் பண்றதா நம்ம டிசைட் பண்ணிக்கலாம், சரிங்களா? ஒரு சைக்காலஜி வேரியபிள் கொஸ்டின் கொடுத்து வாங்குறோம். பட் இந்த பாயிண்ட் ஆஃப் வியூல போறப்ப கார்டியாக் ரிஸ்க் ஃபேக்டர் அப்படின்னு வர்றப்ப இதை நீங்க எப்படி கையாண்டீங்க அந்த ட்ரைனிங் ப்ரொசீஜர்ஸ் தான். தட்ஸ் ஆல். தட் மீன்ஸ் சாரி, டெஸ்டிங் ப்ரொசீஜர். சும்மா நம்ம வந்து என்ன பண்ற எடுத்து இல்ல, அது என்ன டைப் ஆஃப் டெஸ்ட் யூஸ் பண்ணீங்க அந்த டெஸ்டிங்?
HDL LDL சார், அது லெவல் செக் பண்ணுங்க சார். HDL பிளட் பிரஷர், குளுக்கோஸ் எல்லாம் செக் பண்ணிட்டு அந்த லெவல் கண்ட்ரோல் டாக்டர் சொன்ன அந்த கண்ட்ரோல் வரணும். மெயின்லி HDL and LDL சார்.
நீங்க செக் பண்ண அந்த ரிசல்ட் எல்லாம் உங்களுக்கு வந்து சொன்னது வந்து நீங்களா டிசைட் பண்ணீங்களா, இல்லைன்னா டாக்டர் டிசைட் பண்ணி சொன்னாங்களா, இல்லைன்னா உங்க கூட யார் அசஸ் பண்ணி உங்களுக்கு பண்ணது? அதைத்தான் எங்களுக்கு வேணும்.
கொஸ்டின்
லேப் டெக்னீஷியன்ஸ்.
என்னமா?
லேப் டெக்னீஷியன் சார்.
லேப் டெக்னீஷியன் சார்.
எந்த ஹாஸ்பிட்டல்?
முதல் கவர்மெண்ட் ஹாஸ்பிட்டல்.
கவர்மெண்ட் ஹாஸ்பிட்டல் வேர்? நிறைய கவர்மெண்ட் ஆஸ்பத்திரி இருக்கு. எந்த கவர்மெண்ட் ஆஸ்பத்திரியில பண்ணீங்க?
புருஷோத்தமன், இது வந்து உங்களை எதுவும் நம்ம சொல்லல, நீங்க எடுத்திருக்கீங்க. இதுல என்ன அப்படின்னா நீங்க சொல்லக்கூடிய பதில் வந்து இப்ப பார்த்துக்கிட்டு இருக்கக்கூடிய இந்த ஒரு பார்ட்டிசிபென்ட் இருக்காங்க பாத்தீங்களா, இவங்களுக்கு இது ஃபியூச்சர்ல எப்படிலாம் பண்ணலாம் அப்படிங்கிறதுக்கான ஐடியா தான், மற்றபடி உங்களை இது பண்றது இல்லை. ஏன்னா இந்த வேரியபிள் வந்து நம்மளுக்கு ஒரு பிசிஷியனுடைய சஜஸ்ட் இல்லாம நம்ம பண்ண முடியாது. ஏன்னா உங்களுக்கு எல்டிஎலோ ஹெச்டிஎலோட வேல்யூ வந்து இது இருந்தா இந்த இதுக்கு ஓகே, இப்படி இருந்தா இந்த மாதிரி அப்படிங்கிறத நம்ம தான் என்ன பண்ண முடியும், அவங்ககிட்ட கேட்டு நம்ம சஜஸ்ட் பண்ணி. ஃபார் எக்ஸாம்பிள் 100 மீட்டர் ஓடுறாங்க, 100 மீட்டர் ஓடுறா, நம்ம ஒரு ஸ்பிரிண்ட் வந்து டெஸ்ட் எடுக்கிறோம், ஸ்பீட் பெர்ஃபார்மன்ஸ் ஒன்று 30 yard டேஷ் இல்லை 50 மீட்டர் டேஷ் எடுக்கிறோம்னா அதுல என்ன நாம்ஸ்ங்கிறது நம்ம பார்த்தா தெரிஞ்சிடும். ஸோ இதுதாங்கிறது. அதுல நம்ம என்ன பண்ண முடியாது, போயிட்டு நம்ம இருக்கிறதுல கம்மியான பெர்ஃபார்மன்ஸ் போட முடியாது. ஏன்னா நம்மளுக்கு அது ஒரு அதே மாதிரி அவங்களுக்கு அந்த டாக்டர்ஸ்க்கு இதுதான் கார்டியாக் ஸ்பெக்டர்ஸ்க்கு இந்த இது அப்படிங்கிற ஃபிக்ஸ் பண்ணிப்பாங்க. அப்ப டாக்டரோட கைடன்ஸ் இல்லாம நம்ம இதுக்கு உள்ள போகவே முடியாது. இந்த நீங்க லேப் டெக்னீஷியன் இருக்கீங்க, பட் என்னை பொறுத்த வரைக்கும்னா ஆஸ் அ பிசிஷியனோ டாக்டர்ஸ் வில் கைடிங் யூ அண்ட் ஹெல்பிங் யூ. அதுதான் நான் கேட்டது, மற்றபடி வேற ஒன்றும் இல்லை. ஓகே, தேங்க்யூ ஃபார் கிவிங் இன் ஒண்டர்ஃபுல் ஆன்சர் ஃபார் each and every question. So great, Sivakumar sir. So shall we move to audience side? Is there any questions?
So I have one question. Before that, I should clarify all these things. He has been that one physician and 2 nurses, 1 lab technician was assisted him for the study throughout his training schedule. But he is not able to explain all these things. One physician, but physician he was not always with him every day. But and 2 nurses were always with him during his training schedule. That is very true. I was monitoring all these things, right? This is what. And before moving on, that Mr. Purushothaman, what are the difficulties you felt during your throughout this study? என்னெல்லாம் நீங்க கஷ்டம், ஏதாவது உங்களுக்கு மெயினான கஷ்டங்கள் இருந்தா சொல்லலாம்.
Yes, sir. I got 2 difficulties, 2 major difficulties. One is pandemic period, sir. Pandemic is fully affected. Yes. Next one is weather conditions. Weather conditions is not giving good support, sir. These are the 2 major things, drawbacks for my studies.
And how did you overcome this drawback? Yes,
yes, I'm changing the time, sir. Summer period means I'm increasing time. That means 6 to 7. I'm giving the exercise 5:30 to 6:30. Winter season means I'm giving the exercise before 4 to 5. So I'm adjusting the timing.
If any questions from there is no questions at chat box itself. So it's a time to common discussion. So if anything related with our studies, so please ask questions. Audience side, faculty member as well as professional friends, please. So for this session, for questions and related with our studies, please.
Right, sir. I think 2 messages in the chat box. Whether it is related with the question and questions or
let me see. Okay.
One is congratulations to both guide and the scholar. Another one is please unmute audience. So chat box.
Okay, sir. If there is no questions in the chat box, you can conclude the session, sir, please.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Okay. Right, sir. Shall I conclude this session?
Right, sir.
Yeah, please carry.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. In beginning itself, I say both either the guide as well as the scholar has spent a lot of pain to take this studies, because in early time, I should say, it's entirely different studies, that is diabetic patients. So among the diabetic patients, we could not able to fix the intensity. How we can fix the intensity, and we are getting in a guidance from a physician as well as others. So on this basis of that, I think our research supervisor will give a better guidance to our research scholar. So on behalf of all other faculty members, those who are come over here and attending this Viva examination, in early time itself, I go through it, Purushothaman research study. There is he put up on a wonderful introduction point of view. given a apt uh, introduction, what are the needed for introduction chapter. That means he had put it in all the ways. That's better manner. Then another way, what are the reviews we can collect it, that reviews will be supported to our studies. In that way, he can given a reviews is most relevant and very recent one. So that's the situation also. I should congratulate guide as well as scholar, because he has given a relevant and recent. All the research studies were presented in the sections provided that the various intensity training to increase the performance selected dependent variable. All this will be given in a recent studies. Then find the methodology. So already he explained a very crisp manner where he could take studies from 60 male diabetic 2 categories patients, and he go through by with the help of guide. So in a proper way, the scholar has elaborately explained the criterion measures and how the testing procedure will be taken, and what are the statistical techniques can be used in his study. Will explain in a macabre manner. And fourth chapter also, he will explain the discussion and critically as interpret the collected data with the given a relevant and scientific sources also giving then the fourth chapter. Finally, the conclusion will be drawn with the help of guide, and made it a conclusion will be a proper sequences way. I cite hypothesis and conclusion, both will be valid manner, and maybe a bright, get a good attitude also is there. In the fifth chapter, he will given a conclusion regarding his data and analysis. The conclusions also very sweet manner, and recommendations. He also given a recommendation for by his app study. So I request, as well as I what's called as to the higher authority, if that Purushothaman thesis he has submitted in our university, that thesis can fulfill the requirements of his PhD. So I hand out to higher authority if the requirements will be fulfilled by his thesis. So maybe given Doctor of Philosophy for Purushothaman with the permission of higher authority and by Chancellor, Registrar, and Control of Examiner, Manian Sir, and guide. I congratulate, and hereafter Mr. Purushothaman will called as Dr. S. Purushothaman. Thank you for giving me the wonderful opportunity for me as an actress external examiner. So personally, I thank to Vice Chancellor Sir, Registrar Sir, and the Control of Examiner, as well as head of the department, my own brother, Dr. Manian, Professor, Department of Education, and the Thirumalai Kumar Sir, and Madam, and all other learned faculty members, those who have come over here and listening my words regarding Purushothaman thesis, and I own behalf, Dr. Kumar Sir. Thank you for giving me this opportunity to act as excellent. So
Thank you.
I congratulate and I wish that Dr. Purushothaman will get in a bright future in this career. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Purushothaman, go for vote of thanks.
Yes, sir. Yes. gives me immense pleasure to deliver the vote of thanks of my PhD Viva examination in front of you all. I would like to thank Professor Dr. M. Rajkumar sir, Director of Physical Education, Bordia University, Coimbatore, external examiner of PhD Viva Vice. I express my sincere thanks to my well-wisher, my guru, Dr. N. Bright Selvakumar sir, Principal, Christian College of Physical Education, Nargoil, for this kind support and guidance throughout my PhD journey. He helped me in our busy schedule. Whenever I call to him, he responds me in such a way. Thank you, sir. Without you, we couldn't make this possible. I would like to thank our Honorable Vice Chancellor, most respected Registrar, respected Head of the Department of Physical Education, Controller of Examination in charge, Professor Dr. B.S. Manikandan, sir, respected Research Coordinator, Dr. S. Prem Kumar, sir, for the support and guidance for completing my research work. I would like to thank all the respected head of the departments, teaching staff members, guest lecturers, librarian, and non-teaching staff members of Tamil Nadu Physical Education and Sports University for the support for the completion of my PhD. I also thank the subject of my research study. Without them, my research would not be completed. I thank to Dr. S. Selvakumar, Director of Physical Education, Crescent University, for this moral support for the completion of my research. I also thank Dr. Purushothaman, Deputy Director of Crescent University, for his support. I would like to thank my family members, especially my elder brothers, Professor Dr. S. Sridhar, Government Arts College, Tiruvannamalai, and Mr. S. Manivannan, Technician Post Hyundai, and Dr. Gopal, Laida Institute of Technology, and then my wife P. Nadia, and my sons P. Navlesh and P. Lakshan, and my friends and their constant support of believing in me in such a way. At last, I thank to God Almighty to given me a good, healthy, and good career. If I missed anyone, forgive me. It's made due to their pleasure. Once again, I thank you who have supported me directly and indirectly for the completion of my research work. Thank you all.
I personally, I owe my thanks to Dr. Rajkumar,
Thank you, sir.
to spare his wonderful time with us and given suggestion to us. So I thank you so much and God bless you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
And I thank Dr. Manikandan, given me this wonderful opportunity, and he has permitted us to conduct this Voce in this stipulated time. And I personally thank all the officials in Tamil Nadu Physical and Sports University, and my personal thanks to Mrs. Uma, who has conducted here, who has the Zoomer, and she is broadcasting all these things. So my thanks each and every one of you to took part in this Voce examination. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
So thank you, sir. Shall we wind up?
Okay, sir. Sure.
Thank you. Congratulations, Purushothaman.
Congratulations, Purushothaman, sir.
God bless you. God bless you. Do well.
All the best.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.
Right, Ali.